and welcome to the Album Man, and today we are continuing the AC/DC discography with Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. So this album was released in 1976, well, in most places, and 1981 for some reason in the US. I'm honestly not quite sure why it took so long to get over there, but it did, so whatever, AC/DC. But this album, I have to say, again, maybe a bit controversial, but it's not one of my favourites. The really early Bon Scott era is not something of AC/DC I particularly like. I tend to put this album and High Voltage together. They're both albums that feature some absolute classics, but also some clunkers and quite a bit of filler, and I really think both of them are very much the early sound of AC/DC, the bluesy roots, the pub rock style of one of the definitive hard rock bands. To me, really, their classic sound begins with Let There Be Rock, the release we'll be looking at tomorrow. These is more just the band growing, coming from their 50s sounding rock and roll, bluesy rock, to their signature sound. And I definitely find this overall as an album to be more forgettable, with less standout tracks and more filler than I would say High Voltage. I would say I do prefer High Voltage. You see, to me, this album, it really is one of two sides. I mean, physically on my vinyl copy of the album it is, but also in terms of quality. If I honestly never had side 2 again in my life, I think I could still cope quite well. In fact, it probably wouldn't really bother me in the slightest. Though, again, like last time, let's start with the positives. Let's look at the good stuff here. I mean, the title track, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Fantastic opener, and honestly one of my favourite Bon-era riffs from the Young Brothers, as usual, sticking to the simple but effective mentality that would dictate their music for, well, the rest of their career. But still, when it works with an addicting sing-along chorus that echoes around your eardrums long after the song is finished playing. And a particular highlight for me on this track really is the guitar solo. I rate this up there with Angus' very best. I mean, it's melodic, it's very technically proficient, and it suits the song really well. It's not too long, not too short, strikes that really nice balance. And apparently this song's actually gained a bit more popularity recently, as it's about a hitman, a contract killer, and with Phil Rudd's allegations of sort of hiring hitmen to kill people, the song has received a bit of resurgence, so that's kind of cool, but also kind of not, because Phil Rudd is a dubious fellow, it seems, at the moment, let us say. Though, definitely my favourite part of the song has always been at the end from Bon, when he just does that rah for, like, no reason at the end. It comes out of nowhere, but it's pretty cool, actually. Though, really, the absolute drop-dead, stone-cold classic on this record is Problem Child. I mean, this is just one of the best songs AC/DC have honestly ever done. It's definitely one of my probably top 3 favourite Bon Scott songs. To me, it strikes the perfect balance between the commercial juggernauts they've become and the bluesy, raw, dirty, brawling, yobbish sound of early AC/DC. A fantastic performance by Bon Scott really accentuates and makes this song as powerful as it is, with a chorus and a main riff to absolutely die for. Again, yet another fantastically executed guitar solo from Angus, while the rest of the band keeps the rhythm tight, and just the memorable classic riff just pours out. But to me, those songs really are the only just essential AC/DC songs as I'm concerned. They're the ones I would sort of listen to, not in the context of the album. I mean, there's other solid tracks, don't get me wrong. Love at First Feel, the closer Squealer, which both about as promiscuous as you're going to find in rock music. But I find they're rather unremarkable. Squealer, that's more interesting because he has a really cool guitar solo on it. But aside from that, I mean, you know, they don't really add nor detract from the release overall. I'd say they're decent songs. I do enjoy them, but not AC/DC songs I really find myself coming back to. To me, this album as a whole really just feels like generic AC/DC with some riffs very similar to the ones found on High Voltage. There's still a lot of emphasis on 12-bar blues, and yeah, there's definitely a few similarities to some stuff on High Voltage. I'm not saying the band needed to reinvent the wheel, because AC/DC are very good at doing similar things over and over again, but I just feel at this point the sound needs a little bit of spin and polish, a little finesse, and we don't really find the quality here that we'd find later on. Though one thing I would say is definitely improved: the quality guitar solo. Far better in my opinion than on High Voltage. There really is some truly epic soloing on this album, as I mentioned in Squealer, in Dirty Deeds. It's honestly just Angus takes a step up. You see on this album really why he's the rock god he is. This album though, like High Voltage, it does have a couple of absolute bloody clunkers, like big balls. Big balls, just like She's Got Balls from High Voltage, is not something I particularly find amusing or interesting or anything really. The lyrics, and particularly the way the Bond sings it with that sort of annoying pseudo upper class accent, I don't know, it grinds my gears. That's when Bond starts to just annoy me with his voice. I've always said I'm not a massive Bon Scott fan, but here you just know. And yeah, there's lots of double entendre and stuff, but none of it's really, to my taste, ball-related songs, aside from Balls to the Wall by Accept, don't tend to be that great, honestly. And the other notable turd on the album, in my opinion, is Ain't No Fun Waiting Around to Be a Millionaire. This just shows that, well, AC/DC can't go on for too long, and this song, it seems like they're trying to be Emerson, Lake and Palmer, or Robert Fripp, or maybe trying to make an album like Close to the Edge, because they're making a 7-minute song, and that might not sound that too long, but for an AC/DC, that's long, because their songs tend to be full of repetition. For 3-4 minutes, yeah, it's fine, it works really well, but 7 minutes of the same thing, with a riff that isn't even that special, it makes you want to reenact the album cover of If You Want Blood in Real Life with Angus. Yeah, not a song I'm a fan of. But again, before we conclude, it is time, ladies and gentlemen, for my favourite cheesy lyric from Dirty Deeds. And as much as I criticise Big Balls in its lyrics, and I don't really like the lyrics here, this lyric is just so Bon, I suppose. Okay. And my balls are always bouncing, my ballroom always full, and everybody comes and comes again. Oh, Bon, you little devil, you. Here we really have the Bon era's most unremarkable, most forgettable release. The end of the pub rock, bluesy rock and roll AC/DC, no, there'd always be rock and roll really. And with Let There Be Rock, to me, that really is the new age of their sound. And it only goes up from here, definitely, when it comes to the Bon era. So, and then, of course, with the Brian Scott, well, the Brits, so Brian Scott, with Brian Johnson era, it goes up and then goes completely bloody down. This album I'm going to give a 6 out of 10. Some will say that's a bit harsh. Some will disagree with me, I'm sure. But, you know, you may agree with me more when I'm a lot more positive towards the other Bon albums. So, no negativity for a while now. This has been TheAIbumMan. Thanks for watching, comment, subscribe, and long live rock and roll.